again, I wanted to say I'm super glad to be here. I'm located here in Shepherdsville, Kentucky. I originally started Lady Lighthouse as working with being a life coach and a movement instructor, and I've recently pivoted to being more of just an overall resource for women looking for healing and empowerment. Um, just to give you a little bit more background, but we'll get started. And I'm glad to see everyone is tuning in from all of these different areas. I guess I should also ask, are you able to see my screen? Because I can't see a preview. Okay, cool. So the talk is kind of broken down into a couple different sections. I'm going to go over what it means to be in survival, why this happens, the different types of stress and the levels of stress and the stress cycle, and then the signs that you might be experiencing stress or being in survival mode. And then we're going to go into more interactive of um, actually showing and participating, or I invite you to participate in that part. Um, with actual tools and tricks. And feel free to ask questions along the way. Like she said, there's going to be available or option for questions at the end. But let's just get started. So right off the bat, I'd love for you to put into chat what comes to mind when you hear survival mode. Defend, hide, fight, flight, high cortisol, yep. Barely getting by, stress, anxiety, exhaustion, 100%. Yeah, you guys are right on the money, one day at a time. Yes, staying in the present. So survival mode is, again, you guys were right on the money. It's this automatic state that is activated when you're exposed to stress or danger. And this is going on in your brain. And the stress or danger could be real or perceived. And it's a full body response. So your adrenaline, your cortisol, which is a stress hormone, is being activated, your muscle tension, you're getting um, sensory awareness changes are occurring. Sometimes emotional disassociation might occur. But these are things that were designed, or an evolutionary process that was designed to protect, prevent, or provide some semblance of safety for us throughout evolution, throughout history. And the four main modes that this occurs in is fighting, which I saw called out in the chat. So you want to confront it directly, the danger or stress, whatever it is. Flight, withdrawing or avoiding, you could be running away. Freezing is that like paralysis, overwhelm, shutting down, or the fourth one that's more starting to become more popularized, which is fawning. So people pleasing to try to avoid harm. Now, when it comes to these in the workplace, a little like tidbit on what happened for me in one of my previous workplaces, that I would often get overwhelmed with all of the different tasks or things coming my way, and my body would go to freeze. And so I'd be like, there's just too much, I can't do anything now. And so I'd love to know, for you all, if you're open to sharing in the chat, at work, what mode can you recognize that your body is going to first when you are feeling this like stress survival response? Yeah, and thank you for sharing. A lot of what this talk that I'm bringing here today is just, it's giving you all the information and the tools to start bringing what is unconscious behavior that our body is evolutionary designed to do, and bringing it to your awareness so that way you can make a change and you can break out of that cycle or recognize when you're stuck in it. So this is great. We got some fighters. I respect it. I'm a fighter in a different area of my life, but um, I definitely respect it. I know sometimes asking about where bringing that awareness in can also sometimes trigger a little bit of like a stress response in your body. So I just wanted to take a moment before we move on to just take a deep breath here before we continue. just to let ourselves kind of sink back in and be like, it's good, we're good, we're just having a conversation. Now, talking about stress. So, I mentioned that survival is caused by stress or a danger, but at work, the odds are, at least the audience that I have in front of me, I'm assuming that you're not experiencing a lot of like actual physical danger. It's more stress or stressors coming in. And so the this talk is more geared towards psychological stress. And this is stress that it's defined as a response to demands that exceed an individual's adaptive capacity, leading to emotional or psychological strain or physiological strain. So it's pretty much anything that for you and your body, because it's very subjective, that creates an emotion or like full body response. It gets your adrenaline going, it gets cortisol ignited, and it causes, those different body like muscle tension, fight, flight, freeze, fawn. There are different types of stress. Acute is the short-term stress, so this would be something like you have an upcoming deadline that is like, oh, I need to get this done really quickly, or you have an unexpected change where it's like, oh, I was doing this, and all of a sudden it's like, nope, this is now your priority, work on this. That might be a short-term stress, but when that item or action is done, it's like, okay, that thing was done, we're good. Um, and then when we move into long-term stress, where I think work-wise or in the corporate world, the one that you'll likely be experiencing the most is episodic acute stress. So this is when a person is frequently experiencing acute stress, but as a pattern. So it's like you keep getting new deadlines, or new deadlines are constantly arising, and you have this continual pressure or worry. This is a lot of this is seen a lot in at least in the tech side where they do Kanban. I don't know if you guys are from if you do Kanban or not, but you basically have a task board and it's like you always have something to do. Episodic acute stress can be found there. And I put the other two terms on here for long term because they are types of stress. They're not typically found in the corporate world, but they are stress that you might experience in your life. So chronic stress is something like a chronic illness, prolonged financial strain, and then a traumatic stress might be something like a natural disaster or some sort of like life-threatening event that happens. What I want to touch on though is that not all stress is bad stress. We actually need some level of cortisol in our body to function and to have motivation and to do things, because there are actually people that suffer from chronic fatigue and they will actually take supplements for like cortisol supplements to help them have more energy. And so the levels of stress are broken down into eustress, which is good. So it's motivating, it has pleasant effects, it keeps you excited about life. You have eustress, which is more like sensory. It's like it's not good or bad, but that's like when you get to like neutral stress, you are knocking it out of the park. And then when you get to distress, that is where this survival mode like kicks in, where it's like, okay, there is now a fear, there is now a danger, there is something going on that I like, this is overwhelming. The stress has become too much to handle at that point. And I would love to hear from you all what might be a good stressor for you in the workplace. I'll provide an example too to help like kick you off. So like one for me is I love new projects. So I love getting a new project or a new challenge or like something new that I get to go research, because it's like, ooh, I get to go learn something. So for me, that's that's positive, or that provides me um, that good stress. Or deadlines. Yeah. I like a hard deadline too. It kind of it keeps me in check. New objective. Yeah. You could see uh yeah, yeah. Or like getting a new tool, even though it's like you got to learn a new tool. Sometimes getting a new tool, it's like once you figure it out, it's like, oh my gosh, how was I doing my job before without this tool? Yeah, getting to have that connection with individuals is amazing. I love these. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Now, I want to go into the stress cycle because we can't change something that we're not aware of. And for me, learning about the stress cycle was the biggest game changer in overcoming all of the things that were going on in my body and overcoming the like, yeah, just the overwhelming amount of stress that I had been feeling for a while. So I to give you like a little background, like I have been diagnosed at one point. I got so stuck in this and not completing the stress cycle that I was diagnosed with like IBS, depression, anxiety, like muscle dysfunction, all of the things. Like it was just my system. Even I had a functional nutritionist because I went to one at one point because I was like and even she, when she was looking at my lab, she was like, you are approaching an autoimmune um, disease if I like continue down this path. So that's why like this cycle and understanding this cycle is so important because what our body needs and what we've been designed to do is have live in this kind of like more neutral state of like peace, joy, calm. And when we perceive a threat, we and it gets into that distressing part, we go into that fight or flight. But then we are meant to have an ending task that shows that we are safe now, that there needs to be some action that indicates to our brain and our body that we have escaped whatever danger, completed whatever stressor that was, and that we are safe to continue. And when you don't do that, you get stuck in this like spiral and you just kind of keep going and going and going. And that's where you get all of these different bodily systems getting upset because stress affects all areas of your body, that you start to get the mental symptoms of like difficulty concentrating, impaired memory, social withdrawal, irritability, headaches, muscle aches, digestive issues, yep, jaw clenching, fatigue, and so many other things that is just related to not completing this cycle. One of the things where I'm seeing in the corporate world, they use the terminology of like, oh, you need to celebrate your wins, and sometimes you're like, ooh, ha ha ha, yeah, sure, whatever. But actually celebrating your win or celebrating the end of a project is so important because that is teaching your brain and teaching your body that that stressor has come to completion. I have ended that stress cycle. I am able to allow myself to rest, digest, down regulate, and then be able to more easily manage the next thing that comes your way. With all of the meetings moving towards, or like with COVID and everything moving more towards this virtual world, another way you can tackle this is having meetings that are 25 minutes or 55 minutes instead of that full 30 or 1 hour where everything's like stacked on top of each other. Because that 5 minute break gives you the chance to rest, digest, like activate your parasympathetic nervous system, your calming nervous system, and show you that you're not in the stress, you're not in danger. You can take a breather, you completed the stress cycle, and then you can go to the next meeting. So I would love to know, like, do any of these different signs or symptoms stand out to you where you're like, oh yeah, actually I've been feeling this one. You don't need to share the details if you don't want to. A simple yes is great, but I would love to know if you're like, oh yeah, I can see myself experiencing those things. Yeah. I used to there was one period in my life where I had to wear a mouth guard at night because I was grinding so much. My dentist was like, "That's not good." Yeah, we hold a lot of stress in our jaw. Thanks. I appreciate it. Yeah. I love that you shared the being short and being unable to sleep. There's a tool that I use, and we'll get to it, that helps me quiet the mind. So I hope that it will help you as well. All right. So this slide is the same information. It's just displayed in two different ways depending on what type of learner you are. So this is talking about the stages of stress and kind of getting stuck in that stress cycle, where it's like in that little mini loop inside the stress cycle where you're like, I can't get out. Where, oh, hold on, let me. And I'm gonna walk through this with an example of what I've experienced at a previous employer. So what happens when your stress response is activated and you go into this survival mode is the first step is alarm, or the first stage is alarm. So you get the threat, you get the trigger, you're activating the fight, flight, freeze, fawn, and you might lose focus. So how this showed up for me is I was at a previous employer. We have these all hands meetings, and um, we do them like they do them like every quarter or something like that. And in talking about some of the upcoming stuff around like HR and the hiring policy and firing policy, one of the members of leadership said that they're adopting a fire fast mentality. And let me tell you, that raised so many flags in my mind. I know it affected many other people, but like it created this anxiety, this fear. Like I could not focus for the rest of that meeting. And so that put me in this alarm stage. Now, they weren't really able to come back and like correct that. They've actually like they actually doubled down on that approach. And so when we were approaching the next all hands meetings or next like all company meeting, it's a recurring meeting, so I'm getting nervous going into it. I can feel myself getting nervous going into that meeting. um yeah, exactly. What happened to fail fast, get back up? I agree. um and so when I was getting ready for that next meeting, I'm like, I could feel my body. It's just like wasn't sleeping very well. I could feel myself getting just like, this is like, I felt in danger. And that was leading me into like this resistance stage where I was like, I don't really want to go to this meeting. I'm like, I have to, but I don't want to go. And then, like I said, they doubled down on it. And so I finally got to the point with anytime we were going to these all hands meetings and even just like working at the company, I just felt so disconnected or so detached from the company myself that like I reached the burnout point. And so like that's an example of like, I didn't know about the stress cycle at that time, and so I was not able to like self-regulate for myself. And so I followed this curve to burnout. But the good news is there are practical steps to break free. There are practical steps to, I was hoping it meant take a fast. Oh, no. I wish. No. It was the fire fast was very much of like, if you're not cutting it, like we got to get you out so we can get someone else in, was the mentality. And it was not great. But there are practical steps to help complete this stress cycle, because we need to be aware of where we're at in it so that way we can complete it and allow ourselves to find this rest, digest, parasympathetic nervous system um, release for our bodies. And so you might have heard of some of these, and we're going to kind of go through each individual example, but it's not necessarily new science. It's just I'm bringing it to you in such a way that hopefully these are easy, short, little things you can do while you're sitting at your desk, while you're in the car, while you're at home, wherever. So we're going to kick it off with body reveals. again, awareness is key. We can't live a different life if we don't know what the other life could look like. And so, what I want us to do is start to recognize what am I feeling in my body right now and where. The easy, like the simple steps to do this, and I invite you to do this with me, is we're just going to close our eyes if that's accessible to you. You can leave it open. But we're going to start and bring our attention down to our toes. And we're just going to notice if there's any sensations in our toes. I put a sensation like sense vocabulary on the screen if that helps you kind of pick out what you might be feeling. And we're just going to slowly just begin to think or like bring our attention to each different area. So, and notice if there's anything that is any areas of comfort or any areas of tension. We're not judging it, we're not applying any sort of meaning to it or why it exists. It's just a noticing. So if I'm moving up my legs, I think for me, I feel a little throbbing in my right ankle. If I continue up my body, thinking about my knees, my thighs, my hips, and I got a little twitch in my right hip, I think. And then I feel like a little tension on the right side of my like lower back. My heart feels like it's pounding a little bit. I'd love for you, if you've participated, I'd love for you to drop in the chat what what did you notice? What did you notice was coming up? Tight. Kayla, tight where? Just everything tight? Everything, yeah. Queasy stomach, pressure, tension, heavy eyelids. Yeah, good. Achy feet. Yeah. My biggest tip here is to start to incorporate this eye twitching. That's a really good sign of stress. Uh, my One of my tips is to start to incorporate this into your daily routine because that helps you get out of the like survival mental mind because when you go into that stress response and you go into that survival response, your mind takes control of all of the things and because it's trying to get you to safety, protect or provide safety for you. And so this gets you back into your body and gets you to start to notice like, oh, I am in this right now. I am feeling this. Oh, I love that. You feel more calmness because you're being intentional. We're going to go into the next one. So this next option is breath. There are a bunch of different types of breathing, and with stress and survival, it often cause you to shallow breathe because your heart rate gets increased, and so you start to like breathing very quickly. And taking a moment or taking a few minutes to like recognize how you're breathing can help you slow down and get more oxygen into your system. And again, that helps activate your parasympathetic nervous system. And so there are a ton of different breathing techniques. This box breath is my favorite. I will do this one. Someone mentioned in the chat before about their mind talking a lot at night. This is 100% me, and this is what has helped me. Where I will do this type of breathing technique until I fall asleep, and it usually takes like 5-ish minutes, 5 to 10 minutes, and I'm just like, like it's really good. So um, we will do this together, and I will. since I'm going to also be breathing, I will count using my fingers on the screen. But the idea of a box breath is it's just the same amount of seconds in each part. So 4 seconds inhale, you hold it for 4 seconds, 4 seconds exhale, hold the like emptiness for 4 seconds, and then continue. So we're going to get started with a 4 second inhale, hold, exhale, hold, do it again, hold, exhale, hold, inhale one more time, hold, exhale, hold. And you can return to breathing normally now. Did you notice any changes in how your brain or body felt during that? Yay, that felt great. Yeah, this one for me was my game changer. I remember being told about breathing exercises or taking deep breaths um, back in like school at some point, and they're like, take 10 deep breaths, and that didn't work for me. I didn't understand it, but this type of breathing worked. Um, Everyone's differently though, so if you didn't feel a change, that's okay. You can always try it longer. You can try varying the seconds. Maybe 4 seconds wasn't enough for you, or it was too short, was too long for you. Um, but these are all different things that you can play with. The next one is sound for tension release. So this is this one is more fun for me, and you might have heard how like swearing is relieving, and I'm not gonna swear on this call, but if you are in your own home, like swearing is relieving. It does have like just that expression of sound in that way helps relieve stress, funny enough. But these are some other sound types of noises to help, and the reason they and the reason they help is because these sounds are vibrating different areas of your body, and I tried to point out the different areas um, on the slide here, and that helps break up the tension and it helps move that tension up and out of your body instead of allowing it to like linger and like close and tighten. So expressing a sound or even like listening to different types of music, the sound or vibrations of the music can also help loosen up the tension in your body as well. So I'm going to demonstrate and then we'll do them together. And I'm going to move my mic off to the side a little bit so I hopefully don't make it too loud for anyone. So the first one is a ka sound. So I'm going to inhale and then I will make the noise. So ka. It's gonna sound funny, but you're really trying to project the ka to like the wall behind you or a wall across from you. So I invite you to do it with me. So we're gonna inhale and make the sound ka. It's okay to laugh. It's fine. So that one gets a lot of your upper throat. So if you get that like lump in your throat type of feeling, that's gonna help clear that. The next one is more of like a ha. So it's and that's almost like you're breathing fire. So that gets like if you get that like burning feeling in your throat or like it's more the main part of your throat starts to feel tight, that will help clear it. So if you want to do it with me now, inhale and exhale. Again, just project that sound out. Good. The fourth one is humming. So I will play with the different uh, tone of the hum depending on how I'm feeling, but humming is really good if you can get it to vibrate all the way down to your chest. That helps like relieve the tension in your chest or your heart from like a stress or a heartache type of feeling. So I would inhale and then just I just try to hold a note for as long as I can. And like I said, sometimes I'll play with it. So I invite you to do it with me this time. Inhale and hum. Yeah, that's good that you're using ha with your kids. Honestly, a lot of these too comes back to just like kids naturally do these things, and the it's only through all of our life experiences and how we were raised in society and stuff that shut down these reactions that are very natural, that are actually very helpful to relieving stress and completing the stress cycle. Now this last one, I don't. I hope you know what I mean when I blow a raspberry, but I also put horse noise on it, so it's just this like let your lips let your lips do. Oh, I'll just demonstrate. It's just easier. So inhale. that that vibration, like as your mouth is moving, like it makes your brain stop thinking. It vibrates your entire head, and it also can vibrate your vagus nerve. So you have a vagus nerve that goes up your neck behind your ear and then comes up to your eyebrow. And that attaches, like that is part of your parasympathetic nervous system. So activating, like doing this motion activates that, and that helps sync your body into this rest, digest, calming period. So I invite you to do it with me now. Inhale. And it's just fun. It it's silly, it's goofy. I invite you to incorporate sound effects into your day-to-day routines. You can do it while you're showering, brushing teeth, cooking, interacting with family. I am sorry, I do not know who Mr. Ed is, so I guess that dates myself too. But was there any of these that you guys tried that you're like, "Ooh, I like that one," or you're like, "Oh, this just feels weird." I'd love to know. Mm, I mean, felt great. Good. Like the raspberry. Yeah, I've started walking around the house and I just like if I need to, I need to. It's fine. And I've started humming so much now too that my partner, if I start humming, he'll just come up to me and he'll start humming and we'll try to match notes. And so it's more like a fun game now. All right, movement. Thank you for coming. Um, movement. So you can move of any kind. And I know we've likely heard a lot about like a runner's high, but we know that that takes a long time to get to that point. And so we've recently become aware that even just like 5 minutes of stretching can help reduce your cortisol in your body. And so like this is if you think about like a deer in the wild that like senses a predator, they're gonna run. Like they might freeze first and then they'll run away, but then when they're done, they'll shake it off. And so it's like they took that action of both running and then shaking it off, and that helps calm their system. And that's exactly what we as humans need to do as well. So to complete the stress cycle, you need to take an action, breath or like a sound, movement or breath. And so I listed a bunch of different moving ones. We can just simply sit here and stretch if you're like, ah, oh, my shoulders were really tight or my whole body was tight. You're like, oh, I just take a moment to just enjoy this stretch. Um, I know for me before this call, I was feeling I was feeling really excited, and but I was like I need to like ground myself. I need to come into this call with like still my excitement, but not just like bouncing off the walls. And so I was just sitting there and like shaking my hands, shaking my shoulders, like I invite you, if you are feeling like a bunch of tension, to just like allow yourself to embrace Taylor Swift, put on the Shake It Off song, and just like literally let yourself be free. Shake your wrists, like shake out your whole body. Start with a few simple moments a day. Ooh, that's good. Seated elliptical machine. Yeah, just like anything that kind of gets you to just like not be stagnant. Because like when we sit here and we just sit and think about things, that's when it's like everything is just kind of like staying, the tension is staying. But when we finally take that action to indicate like we've completed the stress cycle, it allows your body to just like, okay, I did it. I did the action. I did the breathing. I did the movement. I did the um, I just totally I totally blanked. The breathing, the sound, or the movement. Yeah. And it's all you need is just a few minutes. Now, I if you all are um, interested, group dynamic. Yeah, I dancing. I have a sign in my kitchen that says this kitchen is for dancing. So, like, dance around your house. Okay, let me change the sharing real quick. Okay, so what we're gonna do now is just two quick songs. Um, and I invite you to sink in with me here. I'm going to do a guided moving meditation from where my body is. You don't need to get up off your chair at all, but I would encourage you to scoot forward a little bit just so you have room to move or have more range of motion instead of being stuck in the back of your chair. But I want you to do what feels good for you. Nothing should really hurt. Only you know your body, so don't go past your limits. But again, this will be very light, very easy. So I'm going to kick us off. Can everyone hear that music? Thank you. Okay. I invite you to take a nice big deep breath here. With your hands rested on your lap. Start to notice your feet connected to the ground. Maybe you have shoes on. Maybe you have socks. Maybe you're barefoot and can feel the carpet or wood beneath your feet. Just notice. Bring your attention to your hands. Is the fabric or the skin underneath them cold? Is it warm? You find a little sway. Take a deep breath, and I want you to slowly begin to drag your hands up your legs. Maybe let your head fall. It can fall forward, it can fall to the side, whatever feels comfortable, whatever's accessible for you. Take a deep breath as you feel the stretch. For me, my head fell forward, so I'm feeling the stretch through the back of my neck. Allow your hands to slowly drag up your body, bringing them onto your belly. Maybe one wants to rest there and the other one wants to travel up across your heart. Allow your head to fall to one side if that's accessible to you. Big inhale. Big exhale. Feel that stretch in the side of your neck. Maybe you give it a little massage. Further activating just notice the shape of your ear. Maybe you have overhead headphones on. You can't quite do that. That's okay. Maybe your hand comes to your eyebrow and you notice for the first time your gorgeous shape. How each individual hair stands up as you comb the opposite direction and they tickle underneath your fingernails. Let that hand continue to explore to the other side as you slowly round your head and stretch on the other side. Take a deep breath. You notice that your neck likes a soft pressure. Or maybe your neck likes a little bit firmer to get in there and loosen up the tension. Let your hand drag down the side of your body. Maybe you reach up tall with your right arm high into the sky and you find a stretch through your side body, opening up your rib cage. Taking a deep breath. On your exhale, let yourself sink into that stretch. It's alright, it's alright. As your hand falls down, let it wash over your head. Maybe it comes around the back, plays with your hair. Let your hands trade places, slowly dragging one up. For me, it's my left up the side of my body. Right down, and I'm reaching my left hand up high and tall to the sky. Taking a big inhale, reach. Exhale, letting myself sink into that stretch as my hand melts down. Melting over your gorgeous curves, your gorgeous body. Bringing your hands down to where they feel comfortable, where they feel led on your body. Maybe for me it's on my legs. I invite you to bring your eyes or your gaze to where your hands have found a resting spot. I invite you to slowly begin to swirl your hands around, igniting every nerve ending on your skin. Explore the different parts of your thighs. You can, if it's accessible to you, drag your hands down your legs, down your toes. Don't leave any nerve ending untouched, unignited. Notice the different textures, the different curves, the different beauty that is you and your body. Hands come up your arms. Maybe you discover a new freckle. You notice the softness of your hair. When you're ready, have your hands come to a resting spot. For me, it's my heart and my lower belly. Take a nice big deep breath here. This is your body. She is your barrier. She is your protector. prioritize your safety. When you're ready, I invite you to bring your eyes back up to the camera. I will put the PowerPoint back on, but I appreciate you all participating with me. I'd love to hear in the chat how you're feeling after that. Relax, refreshed, wonderful. Thank you. Yeah, I think we all needed a little bit of that today, and I invite you, I'm leaving this slide on here, and I invite you to um, do a 30-day challenge. I just completed one of these, and it was truly wonderful. The challenge is play one song a day and do any type of movement, whatever feels good for you. You can go check out uh, my movement or my 30-day challenge with my Instagram there, but otherwise, like, give yourself the gift of one song a day, of just slowing down and using these different tools of breath, sound, and movement to find peace, to find joy, to break out of survival, and to complete the stress cycle. With that, I'll leave my resources up here. I invite you to check it out, sign up for the mailing list so that way you can be notified when new articles and new resources are becoming available. But everything everything there is like different things that myself and the community of women that I've surrounded myself with have used to help break ourselves out of the survival and into a more state of calm, liberation, self-expression, um, all of the good things. So thank you so much for having me today. And I I hope you're able to take these in and try out the 30-day challenge. Give yourself that gift this holiday season.